Farina, right over there. She really is here all...
Should I? What was meant to happen did happen after all. I'm sorry. Give up, Farina. I'm sorry, but what can I even do other than to repeat meaningless... Who's that?
Don't worry, Farina, it's just us.
So it is you, blonde traveler from another...
Farina, you were crying just now, weren't you? The tear stains on your face are...
What do you mean, tear stains? Who did that uncivilized rabble think they were? Disturbing my They even dare to tout their Archon! I must teach them a lesson. I can just imagine their twisted and frustrated faces once they... Oh, and I'm sure Nouvellette and those people from the Maréchaussée Phantom are freaking out right next to them, too. Of course not.
Hey, there she is! The Hydro Archon's over there! Quick, after her!
Farina, those people seem to be after you.
They are? They're just some rabbit That's against the rules. I can't let them...
Farina just ran off! Quick, we have to catch up with her! This should be the place, right? Hey, Farina! There's a good hiding spot over here. Quick, come to
What?
Hurry, they're almost here!
Fine. I suppose haste is warranted. I merely gave in to the sheer enthusiasm they displayed. You're right.
Yep, that's a good girl.
What's happening? The ground's shaking.
Yeah, a quake of this kind preceded the flooding in Poisson, didn't it?
It can't be. It's happening.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Nouvellette's made some emergency plans, so the evacuation should go a lot smoother this time.
Yeah, I hope that the people of Poisson... It's true. I once had informants all over Tevat, searching... I've tried all kinds of ways, too, to hold back the sea, but all my efforts proved to be futile in the end. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do, the will of the heavenly principles will have its way. Give up. I do love the sound of that phrase. Indeed. I've thought about giving up so many times. This fate is really unreasonable, isn't it? It has no heart and obeys no rules. But just now, it all became clear to me. As long as the final moment hasn't come, don't worry. I will keep hope alive forever. Well, that's enough for now. I got the impulse to play the stricken maiden, but don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I possibly let...
Come on! Paimon could have sworn...
Share that's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone. A witness. Yes, I've heard that you came to Tevat from beyond the stars, yes. And if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're...
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes now. Without further ado,
So, this is what it is. Do not forget, however, that I am Fosalor, the god of justice, the embodiment of...
May I interpret these words as your refute? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god? I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it.
What the heck is going on?
Wow, how odd.
Lady Farina, what is...
Shh! It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding.
Looking for excuses?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my acceptance of the... I will admit that I've been running away. I'm sorry, everyone. I was unable to protect the people of Poisson. You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. But now, it is time for the Hydro... I, Farina, will use this trial to show the world the true meaning of justice. This time, I will protect you. Applaud and rejoice. One of the most outrageous and fantastical arcs known to the opera epiclese is now unfolding before your eyes. Mark my words. This shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine! The trial of the High... Woohoo!
Oh, now we're... Why does it feel like Farina just took over the whole thing? Like, come on! Didn't she... Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic, she is taking this
All right, then. Who will be...
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well. Then please speak, witness. Also, please allow me to ask, as a final question, just how much work did you do to
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula, since they were rather straightforward.
Navia, the
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They changed into plain clothes and came to the Opera House as The people's resentment against their Archon has been building as more and more. Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis of you, so we arranged for a second group to lie in wait.
So, you mean... the ones who...
and their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate.
That's right. That house was a magic box.
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Arenes. Was an Archon instead of... My thanks, Farina. Without your help, we could never have pulled off such an... Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull. We had to select a location, construct the giant magic box, dig a tunnel, and open up a path through the water. It was a lot of work for all of us.
So, in other words, the earthquake that we felt within the...
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Then, I can guess Nervilette and Cloran's parts. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that the champion duelist would be immediately... Also that as soon as I appeared on the stage...
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist in all of...
Thank you.
As for you, Traveler, I suppose your role was to keep me distracted. You'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived onto... Oh? It's fine. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through to the
Sir Prosecutor, please allow me to pass. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too! Oh, let Paimon see. Wait. Then that means this document... So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence. Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the... I didn't think that you'd wind up... This is the first time, Miss Fatui, the fortress... According to... I nearly... The words of someone as extraordinary...
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Nervilette. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. Of course, it is only natural for...
That's true. But my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's...
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon.
Charge accepted. Lady Farina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Farina.
I plead not guilty. There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine.
Yeah, even though Lady Farina can be rather eccentric.
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure.
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever... See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice.
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? We have to not only...
Well, I tried to give you the... And if I was not the Archon, then...
First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess an extended...
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave?
A curse. I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble the but in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse after all.
Nervilette sensed it too, huh?
Lady Farina...
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to...
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I... Besides, Everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. For centuries, manifestations of my authority have served. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very...
That doesn't sound right. You tried to reference the Oratrice, but weren't you as confused?
Didn't I make myself clear at the time?
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is while the court is in session. The principles of justice and the law must... You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you...
I never thought you'd use...
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority...
The real Hydro Archon. It is true that I did not know what, but the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. You can't argue that just because
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has...
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary...
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend...
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of Hydro?
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the... Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy.
Isn't that a huge struggle?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
It seems like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. I'm still the same Farina you knew, right? The one, please. You've got to believe me.
If what the prosecutor said is true, she...
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too?
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro if you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence.
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. It has been established that all Fontanians can dissolve in water from...
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use...
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court.
Super sorry, monsieur. Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the area, including those of some of my close... So, Miss Farina, would you dare to touch some of this seawater? If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching the seawater would have no effect on you. All it should do is strengthen. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any... I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years.
If Lady Farina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of us.
Lady Farina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings...
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession of...
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word.
What's going on? Is she really planning to...
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina, you may...
Hey!
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still. Will you believe me now? I really am your Archon. I'm nothing like a normal human who would.
Miss Siegewin, if you are present, Miss
Siege?
Don't be nervous. It'll just take a. That should.
Please announce the results of your evaluation.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying. She was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to.
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Farina.
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved!
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, we don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a low concentration sample. It's a great thing that the direct sample.
I can't believe you. Listen to me, everyone. Please don't think about it. How can you conclusive? Also, if I was really. Please, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are just too stacked against her now.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal.
Well, what's wrong? What's the Oratrice's verdict?
No, the Oratrice also
Isn't that correct then?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is to be punished via the...
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always...
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court.
Farina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been...
Yeah! Even Fauché wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the series.
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Farina has never been the Hydro... But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the...
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! You finally made it.
Mm-hmm. Any minute.
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged...
I look looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. But has the trial already concluded? Then...
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review... Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait. So when you say Hydro Archon...
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be... However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make.
Okay, let's try to recall the The first stone slate describes what you just said. Does that mean that... The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worship. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon... The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea, surrounded by many people. Huh. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also... Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy of the Fontanians of... We didn't believe that's such a crazy...
We know, and the first, this might be... Perhaps the true sin of the and the original sin It's not as simple as when Navia fell into the stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro. The prophecy from the stone slates found its way. The fortress of Merope. If we hadn't dealt with,
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea, but won't cease to exist. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the stone slate's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know... it now, but then it feels like...
Let's hear them.
Incredible.
We're... not...
All Fontanians were originally created by the late The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians... Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also...
Indeed.
Yeah! Follows from the content of the first slate that she probably... That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the
Hydro Archon's true sin.
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese.
Yeah! Isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been... In the end... The people will... Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also... When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden... Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative. I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontanians and the sin of the Hydro Archon. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the seven, not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiar. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontanians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race, and thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned.
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never... Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only...
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontanian.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, a key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water, they have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate, the nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of Trials, and you may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, therefore, the meaning that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon. Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold.
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy would...
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate...
Traveler, I would like to point out another about the fourth slate. You probably thought that the eruption of primordial... However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that as for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come.
It was both...
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be...
The truth, the original sin.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the upper
So we've met it at last. I understand very well that whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed, it has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea, and once it has finished consuming all of the energy...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids...
Precisely. That whale finds the blood. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case...
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far soon. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely did. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated. Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive.
We've already done everything we can, and we even found the truth. We've come so far. You can't just...
Indeed. That's not how a grand...
I'll fight it to the end. No matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will... Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspective... Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide. No...
What's happening with the aura trees?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina! No, I still need answers.
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face.
You are not Farina.
Ah, the sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my...
Fusolo.
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. The heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heaven...
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my... She knew full well that the prophecy... And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly... So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible... I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled. I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Ijiri... Although, looking back now, It was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than
So you were also once one of the Oceanids?
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my— The me you see before you now is that divinity. And she could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited. Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess. But in my eyes, Furina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human and anyway, so then I cursed her. All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Furina to be an actress, under the curse I placed on her. So long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free to live her life in the pursuit of happiness. Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Furina is only human. Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other ordinary human being. I cannot begin to fathom what she—
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me, it's been 500 years. And all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely,